So welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com. And this is a little behind the scenes from our live coaching calls that we do several times throughout the course of the week, with our members at Heartletics. But today I decided to go ahead and record this, throw it up on, as a podcast, throw it up on YouTube as well, because we're going to be talking about, not necessarily just fat loss and different tips and, improvements on overall body composition. But nonetheless, we're going to be also diving into reverse dieting, which for somebody that's on the outside kind of listening in, they might not know what that means and they might not understand that process. And who we're going to be interviewing is Mike, and necessarily how he lost pretty much Mike, 50 pounds so far, but also in this process of how we're able to increase his calories, and we'll go over all that here in a little bit, and still lose body fat, which I think is great because most people think it's all calories in versus calories out. But from today's episode, you're going to kind of learn the truth about, hey, fueling your body properly, right? And how to successfully have long-term results. So Mike, why don't you introduce yourself, brother, man, to everybody that's kind of, here on the Zoom chat, but also just on the outside, maybe just kind of listening in either on Facebook or YouTube. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So welcome, everyone. Mike, I'm 46, just a few weeks away from 47-year-old husband and father. I work a sedentary job. I sit at a desk 9 hours a day. And, in my free time, I'm a martial artist.
Yeah. What kind of martial arts?
I do Tai Chi and Taekwondo.
I love it, brother. I love it. And let's do a little background. I guess for starters, how did you first find out about Heartletics?
Just like most other guys, I got hit with that Facebook ad for the free fat loss guide. And I was like, I was at that point in my life, I was ready for a change. So I clicked and submitted the info. And then, I get these what I thought was robocalls from Coach Joe.
Yeah. Everybody's always kind of scared, skeptical at first, right? Thinking I'm a robot. And it's funny when I always hear that. Me and Mark laugh about that like all the time. But I guess, you mentioned you were at a point in your life where you want to make a change, right? I guess what was that change? And maybe tell us a little bit about what you tried to do in the past before signing up for Heartletics.
Yeah. So, I was, ever since, football in high school ended, I've struggled with my weight. And, just as the decades rolled past, I just kept adding more. Nothing I did kept it off. I did, cutting carbs, intermittent fasting, paleo, tried them all, lost it briefly, gained it back plus it whenever I stopped following it.
Yeah. We hear that all the time, man. It's kind of like that yo-yo effect, right? It's like the quick wins, but not the long-term results. And it's typically just the, up, down yo-yo effect, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And, one of the biggest things that, prompted me to make the change was, one, facing down my family history, right? I've got, my grandparents, uncles, all dying of heart disease, diabetes, stuff like that. And I was just, what? That's not going to be me.
Yeah. I like it. Stop it in its tracks, plain and simple, What, before we dive into the reverse diet, I guess tell us a little bit more about the success that you had with Heartletics, in terms of, the coaching program and, just kind of an overview on, what maybe you learned or, the weight loss, the fat loss, everything.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the quick wins, lost almost 60 pounds, nearly 20% body fat. I'm off all my medications. But the big win is really, I'm not the same person I was over a year ago when I started this journey, right? I have a killer mindset that lets me tackle all of life's curveballs that come at me. The physical transformation that came along with it is just icing on the cake.
I love that, man. Let's do a deep dive into that if you don't mind. So everybody always signs up, right? I'm sure you did too, right? You want to sign up to lose some weight, lose some body fat, maybe have more energy. But what you just kind of said was, hey, you unveiled this, persona about yourself, maybe more confidence or a different mindset, right? And you said that was the true, prize that you were able to acquire from our coaching, program. What led to that mindset shift? And I guess what was that mindset shift that, is so powerful that you speak so highly of?
I think really is, as you get into the mindset phases of the program, and even from the beginning, you start learning about, gratitude and affirmations, and changing that negative self-talk that really leads to the lack of self-confidence that a lot of people struggle with. So once I flipped that script, I'm a new person.
I love that. I love that. And for everybody that's listening in, let me just say that like that's always going to be the best reward you'll ever get. We like to say it like this is like the physical transformation, it's just the icing on the cake, but that mental transformation, like that's the true prize right there. And since you had such a good mental and also physical, change, I guess how has this also maybe impacted your life outside of health and fitness?
Well, one is, learning to be outside my comfort zone to grow, is one of the biggest things I've taken away from it, with becoming a coach and helping out the other community members. That's way outside of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
being an introverted person, but it makes me grow. And I love helping others. And, not only through that, but it's helped me, in what I do in my free time with teaching Taekwondo to young kids, and having a great approach there is just, leaps and bounds of rewards.
I love that, man. I love that. And before we start talking into, the reverse diet, right? And like the whole process with that, what did you think is like the one of the best key parts, right? Not necessarily about the results that you got, but maybe about like the coaching program itself. Let's say if somebody is on the outside listening right now and they don't really know anything about Heartletics besides it's a fat loss coaching program, but they might not understand, the community support, accountability, or, the nutrition or training. What would you say is like the true thing that really kind of helped you into terms of like having success?
It's got to be the community group, because, and I've heard it from guys over and over and over again as we, talk in the Zoom chats and stuff, is trying to do it on your own. And you got to realize it's not a journey to take by yourself. You need the community group around you and the coaches there to push you to be held accountable and help stand you up when you're down.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, brother. And let's dive into this. We went through the whole entire cut, right? Into terms of like, hey, we're at this point now where it's maybe not smart to make any adjustments in terms of taking away any more calories. We're like, now it's coming to a point where we should maybe focus on some other strategies, right? To help you have more success, but also reset your metabolic rates and just make it even more efficient. I guess the first time, you heard me talk about reverse dieting and, maybe even heard that phrase, what did you think?
I just thought it was, crazy talk. Cause like, how can you, cause you always hear about, calories in versus calories out. And you just think, how can I lose weight eating 3,000 calories a day? It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously that's what you're at right now, but what is, I guess, tell everybody, when you finish the cuts, right? When you got to results, and I guess, talk about your stats also. Hey, you start off at, X amount of weight, X amount of body fat, X amount of, maybe calories, got you all the way down here at the lowest. And then we'll kind of, branch into where you're at current state, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. So when I started the program, we started me out at like 2,300 calories. At that point, I was 240 pounds and 35% body fat. When we got to the cut about 6 months later, I was down to about 191 pounds, around 20% body fat, and 1,900 calories a day.
Yeah. Yeah. And just for everybody that's listening, the reason why, right, we had this conversation with Mike about, maybe doing a reverse diet is because I firmly believe, anywhere from, let's say, 12 to 24 weeks of going in a deficit is great, but anything more than that, it's kind of just like self-sabotage so much, right? You can't just take away calories, take away calories, take away calories. And I think that's what so many people think, right? Because you hear about calories in versus calories out. But at some point, you're going to get down to 1,500, 1,200 calories, 1,000 calories, where one, it's not sustainable because you can't fit in your favorite foods. But also, second, is the fact that your body is not getting in enough proper food, right? We always like to say is like food equals fuel. And I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a second, Mike. But when somebody's not getting enough proper macronutrients, they're not fueling their body properly. And their body's almost like in this scarcity mode where instead of it actually losing body fat, storing body fat now, because it's like, hey, I don't know when the next time I'm going to get in X amount of calories, X amount of, macronutrients is going to be. And it starts holding on that body fat because it literally thinks it's like dying at that point. Mike, where are you at right now in terms of your calories, and maybe in terms of just the, your body composition now?
Yeah, so right now I'm at 2,800 calories a day, hovering around 182, 184 pounds, and bouncing between under 16 and just above 16% body fat.
Yeah, I love it. And you went from 1,900 calories to 2,800 calories, right? So 900 calories more, and you're still losing more body fat. You're still losing more weight. Somebody might be thinking, okay, well, how is that possible, right? Do you just increase your calories up to that threshold? Is there a strategy like when and how to make adjustments? Do you want to kind of walk them through that process?
Yeah, so it's a slow, carefully monitored process. Like, we bump calories and then we watch and wait and see what happens. If I lose that week, we add another 100 calories. But if I hold steady or gain, pump the brakes, wait for the body to adjust to the new calorie range and lose again. And then we bump it up again and repeat the process.
Yeah. Would you say that's been going pretty smoothly, pretty simple?
Yeah, I've established a pretty routine pattern where, we'll add a week, I'll add a pound or two, and then the next week and we'll pump the brakes, and then the next week up, we'll ump it again because I've dropped 2 or 3 pounds.
Yeah. So it's more so about making sure that you're consistent, trusting the process, right? But also being disciplined as well, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit tighter on the discipline than we have for like the standard program where, we give everyone that 200 plus or minus range on the calories, where, with this, we really try to stick within 100.
Yeah. And let's talk about some fun things now, right? Because obviously 1,900 calories, right? Like you have to be kind of like very mindful, right? I should say.
Absolutely.
And make sure you're hitting your protein goal and whatnot. 2,800 calories, that's a lot of wiggle room, man. But why don't you kind of tell everybody about, hey, as you're going up in calories, it's not just sporadically spread out throughout all carbs, fats, and proteins. At a certain threshold, we kind of hold the brakes on some certain ones to start increasing on others, making it a little bit more fun to fit in your favorite foods. You mind talking to everybody about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I'm at a point now where when we bump calories, almost all those calories are bumping into carbs, right? My proteins and fats are pretty much hanging solid. They might bump a little bit as we add, but the majority of the calorie increase is coming from carbs. Like, right now, my carb count's at 311 grams a day.
Yeah. So for starters, right? Because I want to dive into that because I know for a fact somebody might be on the outside listening and they're thinking to themselves, that doesn't make any sense, right? Carbs are the enemy. Carbs are the devil, right? Like you can't eat carbs. And like, they're probably wondering, how is somebody consuming that many grams on a daily basis and still losing body fat? Do you want to kind of educate people maybe on the importance of carbohydrates, and especially for males, right? Testosterone levels, metabolism, energy, recovery. Do you want to kind of educate them about your process and how that's been kind of benefiting, you with your fat loss journey?
Yeah. So, everything you just said there, is the basis of it. But, carbs are your body's fuel at the bottom of the range. Me, I work out fasted in the morning. So I do a carb load in the evening, and that carb load feeds my workout the next morning. And my workout logs show it. I mean, I'm killing the PRs, and a lot of that's coming from the carb load.
I love that. And obviously, right, consuming all these grams of carbs and your body's used to consuming all the overall calories in general. Why don't you walk everybody, from I think it was like 3 weeks ago, you had that little work event party. Remember that
Yes, sir.
message that you sent me over?
Yeah. So, being in the program for almost a year, I had this work happy hour I was going to in the evening. So I did what I do any other day when I know there's, going out to eat, is I protein spared for the day. So, I got pretty close to my protein goal, and I go into knowing they're having pizza, beer, and wings as the food at this party. So I'm getting there. I was like, okay, I'm just going to eat what I eat and see where I land. Came out of at the end and logged everything, 2 slices of pizza, 2 beers, handful of wings, got done logging, and I was still staring down the barrel of 700 calories to intake for the rest of the day.
I absolutely love that, man. Absolutely love that, because you've trained your body, right? And you already just kind of said how, the carbohydrates play such a vital role, right, into energy levels, fueling the workout. But you have successfully, trained your body that food equals fuel, right? Now it's thriving instead of just surviving. And that's hard to do, but I guess what would you say, for anybody that's either on the call listening right now or on the outside listening, what would you say is like your overall feedback and maybe benefits of the overall process of just the reverse diet?
Uh, it's a mental challenge on top of everything. All the physical benefits and stuff is, just like doing the water cut, having that discipline to, hit your goals on a daily basis to get the results, lets you know that, hey, I can take on anything.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, because I think that shows a lot of truth and merit, right? That like when you want something, right, a goal, so to speak, you're sometimes going to have to put in some sacrifice, right? Like nothing's ever going to be a handout or, going to happen overnight by any means. You got to put in some sacrifice. You got to put in some discipline, some hard work and some dedication. And it just goes to show, right? If doing so, right, you're able to go from 1900 calories all the way up to 2800 calories, consuming over 300 grams of carbs and still losing body fat, man. So kudos to you, brother. As we wrap things up, what would you say, right, is if somebody's listening from the outside in now and they don't know anything about Heartletics, or maybe they're in a position right now where they're struggling with their health and fitness goals. They just heard about your success, dropping 50 pounds of fat during your cut, and then obviously now increasing all your calories and still losing more weight. And maybe they're like, man, I want to be like Mike, like what can I do, or where should I start? What should I focus on? What is some value that you can kind of bring to those listeners?
Well, one, make the call to Heartletics yesterday. But you can't do it yesterday, so today's the best time to do it, right? But other than that, forget what you think you know and trust the process, and give it a chance.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because I think that's a hard thing for most people to do, is forget what they think they know. A lot of guys think they know how to lose weight successfully, right? And burn body fat and keep it off long term. And as going through this whole entire process through, Heartletics and then obviously through the reverse diet, it's not as easy as just calories in versus calories out. It's not as that simple, right? It's more so of the knowledge, the understanding, right? And would you say that you have that knowledge, that understanding of, training your body and fueling your body properly now?
Yeah, that's the other big takeaway is I have the knowledge to sustain that for the rest of my life going forward, right?
I love that. I love that. Mike, I appreciate your time today, brother. And this has been a solid, Q&A interview. Appreciate your time. And just like Mike said, if anybody's just on the outside in, hey, when's the best time to plant a tree, right? It was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. So if anybody is struggling with their health and fitness goals, then they're looking for some tips, looking for some knowledge, just like how Mike acquired the skills and the knowledge of learning how to properly eat, learning how to properly train, go check out heartletics.com. We got a free fat loss guide, or hey, schedule a call with our team, speak with one of the coaches directly and just figure out if, coaching makes sense for you and can get you from point A to point B. With that being said, guys, this has been Coach Joe with the Heart Athletics Podcast. We'll talk to you all next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.